we are done with almost the entire first module. In the second module, we are done with extended surfaces, which is fins. In second module, one of the parts is left, which is transient heat conduction. We will cover that part later. Right now, we are starting the fifth module. Again, fifth module has got two parts. The first part is heat exchangers, which we are going to start today. And the second part is boiling and condensation, which we will do after completion of rest of the topics. So today in the first class, we will only talk about what heat exchangers are where heat exchangers are used, or what are the applications and all, and what are the different types of heat exchangers. What is the classification of any heat exchanger? So these are the topics which we are going to discuss today. Also, at the end of the class, if anyone has any doubt in the assignment questions, so they can come up with those doubts, or any doubt in the topics discussed today, so they can clarify those doubts. We are going to start with heat exchangers. So a heat exchanger is a system which will be used to transfer heat between two different fluids. Now, in different books, you will find different definitions. If you will refer to any Indian author, they say that the fluids which are flowing through the heat exchanger, they may be separated by a solid wall, or they can be in direct contact. But when you will refer to any foreign author, it will be written that the fluids should not be allowed to mix with each other. So we are going to stick to this definition, that the fluids may be separate. Guys, keep your calls on mute. I'm not going to say this again. Now we are going to stick to this definition. We are going to consider that the fluids may be separated by a solid wall. So this solid wall might be a pipe, it might be a tube, or something else. Or they may be in direct contact. So again, this would be coming under one classification of heat exchangers, which we are going to discuss today. Now, different cases where heat exchangers are used. So intercoolers, preheaters, condensers, boilers, these are different terms which you might have studied in power plant, or maybe in refrigeration cycles. You might have talked about, or you might have studied intercooling Rankine cycle before. Rankine cycle with preheating. Then one part of any Rankine cycle is a condenser. Boilers are used to convert saturated liquid into steam. Again, regenerators are also used in Rankine cycle power plants, or maybe gas cycle power plants. Or these components are also used in refrigeration cycles, different refrigeration cycles. If we are talking about automobile radiators, they are also for cooling purpose, for cooling of the engine. We might use a radiator. In the radiator, some fluid will be used, some water might be used. The water will be circulated throughout the engine in a cycle, and it will be used to cool down the engine. Next, we are going to see what are the different types of heat exchangers. So heat exchangers might be classified on different bases. The first basis of classification would be nature of heat exchange. Whether during the heat exchange the fluids are in direct contact with each other, or they are not in direct contact with each other. What is the relative direction of fluid motion? That can be one of the bases. So whether the fluids are moving in the same direction, this is the first fluid, this is the second fluid. Whether the fluids are moving in the same direction, or the fluids are moving in opposite direction, or the fluids are moving in perpendicular directions. So depending upon the relative direction of fluid motion, we are going to classify heat exchangers. On the basis of design and constructional features also, we are going to classify the heat exchangers. We will discuss this category later. And on the basis of physical state of fluids, we are going to classify heat exchangers. Whether the fluid which is entering the heat exchanger, that is in liquid state, or whether it is in gaseous state, what phenomena is taking place in the heat exchanger, whether the phenomena is boiling or it is condensation, whether it is evaporation or it is condensation. So depending on these, we are going to classify the heat exchangers on the basis of physical state of the fluids. The most important classification over here is relative direction of fluid motion. As we will go deep in the module, we are going to discuss only this category. But if this question is coming for the exam that classify heat exchangers, you need to write all. And for the theory purpose, this portion is very important on the basis of design and construction features. So we will move to the next slide and we will discuss all these types one by one. First one is classification on the basis of nature of heat exchange process. So on the basis of nature of heat exchange, we can classify the heat exchangers as direct contact heat exchangers or indirect contact heat exchangers. Direct contact heat exchangers are one in which direct mixing of hot and cold fluids is taking place. Now say that you are taking bath, you have a bucket. In the bucket you are taking warm water and you are pouring cold water in it. So here what is happening? Direct contact of two fluids is taking place, but we are not going to call this system as a heat exchanger because here flow of the fluids is not taking place. One condition for heat exchanger is there should be continuous flow of fluids. One more condition is there should be some temperature difference between the fluids. If both the fluids are at the same temperature, heat exchange cannot take place. Hence, we should have one hot fluid, we should have one cold fluid, and both the fluids must be flowing continuously, or there should be some relative velocity between the two fluids. So this bucket example, we cannot consider that as a heat exchanger. We will see what are the examples for direct contact heat exchangers. So jet condensers or cooling towers might be considered as direct contact heat exchangers. Again, cooling towers you might have discussed in power plant while studying the Rankine cycle. Again, we will see what is the working of this cooling tower, how a cooling tower works. Then we have indirect contact heat exchangers. These are of two types. First category is called as regenerator and second one is called as recuperator. We will talk about these two categories in the forthcoming slides. Any doubt till this part? Any doubt in what is heat exchanger or what is direct contact and indirect contact?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Again, if we have two streams of fluids, so in direct contact heat exchangers, the streams will be allowed to mix up. In indirect contact heat exchangers, the streams are not allowed to mix up. These will be separated by some solid boundary. Now, in this direct contact, we are going to use them only when the fluid properties are not going to be affected after mixing. The mixing of fluids is not going to affect the functioning of the system. In that case only, we are going to use this direct contact heat exchangers. One of the examples of this direct contact heat exchanger is cooling tower. So we will see the working of a cooling tower in the next slide. Here what you are seeing is a cooling tower. You people know what a cooling tower is, where it is used? Yes, no?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, fine.
The cold solvents.
We will see what a cooling tower is, then we will come to the functioning of a cooling tower. Say that we have one power plant. The power plant is working on Rankine cycle. So one of the components of power plant will be a boiler. Here we have a boiler. In the boiler, we are giving the feed water. So this is the feed water given. Once the water will be coming out, it will be in form of steam. And the steam will be passed over. Tell me the next component of Rankine cycle. Anyone tell me the next component?
Turbine, sir?
Turbine.
Evaporator.
Yeah, it will be passed over the turbine. So say here we have a turbine. It is being passed over the turbine. After being passed over the turbine, expansion of the system is going to take place and pressure drop will occur. Okay. The next device is a condenser. Very good. So the next device is a condenser. So I will draw a condenser like this. And the next device is a pump. Okay, now in condenser, what is going to happen? here we have steam. This has to be converted into water. So we need to cool down the steam. This will be having some enthalpy, and we need to take out heat from the fluid flowing over there. So for that, we might use some cooling water. So here, say in this cycle or in this equipment, we are letting water flow like this. So cool water, cold water will be entering the condenser. It will be taking the heat from the steam, which will be causing condensation of the steam, and it will be converted in water. And when this water comes out, it will be warm water. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in this case also, there is relative velocity or there is relative motion between the two fluids. One fluid is flowing in this direction, one fluid is flowing in this direction. Both the fluids are at different temperatures, and they are separated by some boundary. They are flowing in different pipes. So here mixing is not taking place. So this also can be considered as an indirect contact heat exchanger. Now here what is happening? The cold water which we were supplying, once it comes out of the condenser, it is warm now. Now we have two options. One option, we can throw this warm water in the river body or in the water body from where we had taken this cold water. So what this is going to cause? This is going to cause something which is called as thermal pollution. So in thermal pollution, what we are doing, we are throwing this warm water in the water bodies. So temperature of the water bodies, those will be rising continuously. So it is not recommended to throw this warm water directly in the water bodies. Also, there will be lot of wastage of water and all during this entire process. Hence, we will try to reuse this water. That will be our second option. So the warm water which is coming out of the condenser, which was used for cooling the steam, this also has to be cooled now. So for cooling this warm water, we will be passing it through something which is called as a cooling tower. Is this part clear? The function of a cooling tower is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we will go back to our slide and we will see what a cooling tower is and how that cooling tower works. So this is our cooling tower. Cooling tower is a very large tower. Here you can see two towers are placed side by side to each other. Generally 9-10 towers will be placed beside each other. This you can see in thermal power plants. For internship, if anyone is going for any thermal power plant, say NTPC or any place like that, so over there you can see working of a cooling tower properly. Here I have arranged one animation. Using the animation, we will see how a cooling tower is going to work. Okay, so this is the cooling tower. It will be a very large building. In the building, we have two towers, and this will be used for cooling of water. And the water will be cooled by this method. Evaporation of water from the surface of cooling fills will take place. We will see what these cooling fills are. And here heat transfer will take place by contact. Contact means direct contact. So we will see what are the two fluids which are flowing over here and how their contact is taking place. So here you can see, here we have a pipe, the pipe which is colored in red. Through this red pipe, the hot water which was coming out of the condenser, that will be coming here. We were supplying cold water to the condenser. The cold water was extracting heat from the condenser and its temperature was rising up, and the cold water is hot now. We need to cool down the same hot water. So that hot water is passed through this pipe, and water is coming like this through this pipe which is white in colored. And here you can see that here you have some nozzle kind of thing. So these are sprayers. Through the sprayers, the water will be sprayed over this particular surface, and this surface is called as fills. We will proceed the animation. So hot water is coming through the pipe. It is passing through the white pipe, and it is being distributed. It is being sprayed over the surface, and this surface is called as water fill. Now this might be some honeycomb structure or a structure which is causing seepage of water. Water will not be traveling very fast. Water will be traveling very slowly through this particular surface. Also, it is highly porous. so that air can pass from the bottom. Here what we are doing, we are using one fan. When the fan will be rotated, air will be coming from the bottom of the cooling tower and it will be moving in the upward direction. So the first fluid which is flowing over here, that is the hot water for us. These are the cooling fills. Here you can see the structure of the cooling fills. Just a minute. So you can see the structure of the cooling fills. These are highly porous, some honeycomb structure or some structure like that might be used so that water can pass, but water will be passing very slowly, and it is highly porous so that air can go in the upward direction easily. Now here you can see the arrows. The red arrow is indicating that the water is hot, and the blue arrow is indicating that the temperature has dropped down. We are going to use the same notation throughout the module for all the animations and all. Now we are going to turn on the fan. When the fan will be rotated, air is going to pass from the bottom of the cooling tower and it is going to move in the upward direction. So here you could see that some vapors were collected. Now when air will be moving up, it is going to take that vapor also with it in the upward direction. So this type of cooling can also be called as evaporative cooling. And the two fluids which are coming in contact with each other, that is water and the air. We have two streams. One is the stream of water and the second is the stream of air. Here both the fluids are in direct contact with each other and heat exchange process is taking place. Is the working of cooling tower clear to all?
The cooling fills have cold water in it, sir.
Sorry?
Yeah, the cooling fills have something, some cold component like cold water. Something.
No. They don't have anything like that. Say
It's
that.
just a mechanical structure.
Yeah, it is just a mechanical structure.
Okay.
Consider that you have sand over there. So you are taking warm water and you are spilling that on sand. So what is going to happen? The water is going to seep down through the sand. So consider that to be sand.
Yes, sir.
So what material is it made of?
Sorry?
What material is it made of?
That I will have to search. Something which is not much corrosive or something like that.
Okay, sir.
So,
Got it.
so because the
not sure
material
about
is
the material.
very cold, so it's always cold because it should be cold always.
It is cold because of the air which is flowing through it. Because the air which
Okay.
will be flowing, that will be at the ambient temperature and the water is warmer. When both are coming in contact with each other, the heat is taken back to the surroundings. And again, evaporation is taking place. So since evaporation is taking place, the vapors are going to take some heat from the surface. Say that,
Yes, sir.
say that you are coming out of a swimming pool. So you will have water droplets on your body. Again, the water droplets are going to evaporate in the surroundings. When this happens, you might be feeling cold.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so because this is happening because the water droplets, they are taking latent heat from your body and they are evaporating to the atmosphere. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay, so similarly here also this evaporative cooling phenomena is taking place. Anyone, any other doubt? Should I repeat this again?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So basically this was the working of cooling tower. Working of cooling tower, that is not part of the syllabus. We don't have to study. You had to study this in ATD, which you are already done with. So here we are seeing this only because here direct contact of the fluids is taking place. Here the blue colored fluid, this one is air, and this small fluid which is coming down, that is water droplet. So direct contact of water and air is taking place. Hence we will be calling this as direct contact heat exchanger. We will move to the second type of heat exchangers. So the second category was indirect contact. In indirect contact, the fluids are separated by some solid boundary. So these are of two types. First one is regenerator. First one is regenerator, and the second one is recuperator. We will talk about this regenerator first. So in this regenerator, we have some material which is heated by a hot fluid. So suppose that we have some material like this. This material we will be calling as matrix. So we have a matrix. What we are going to do, we are going to let some hot fluid pass over this particular matrix. Once it is done, we are going to take the matrix separately. So this is the matrix now. Since one hot fluid had passed over the matrix, the temperature of this particular matrix will be very high. And now we will let some cold fluid pass over the matrix. So what is going to happen? The cold fluid is going to extract heat from this particular matrix. So such a type of heat exchanger will be called as a regenerator. Here the fluids are not exchanging heat directly. First the heat is stored in some other solid, and from that solid the cold body is extracting heat. So such a type of heat exchanger will be called as regenerator. Again, in this case, you can see that the hot fluid and the cold fluid are not in direct contact with each other. So this is again indirect contact heat exchanger. Is the portion clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here you can see that in regenerative type of heat exchanger, hot and cold fluids pass alternately through a space containing solid particles. And this space of solid particles, that is called as matrix. These are the advantages and all. You can go through these advantages. One of the major advantages is that less weight per kilowatt of the power plant. So say that you want to exchange a particular amount of heat, or you want to exchange heat at a particular rate. For that purpose, the size of the heat exchanger, that will be less. Here you can see this is also a heat exchanger, and this is of the size of a large building. The size might be equal to our mechanical block building, or maybe even greater than that. So generally heat exchangers are such large in size, and these can be very compact also. For example, the ones which we are using in our automobiles, so those are radiators and all. So radiator is also a heat exchanger, and that is compact in size. We are going to discuss two different examples of regenerators, or two different variants of regenerators which are generally used. So first is this. First is fixed bed or wall type. Now we have two different matrices over here. This is the first matrix and this is the second matrix. Or here we are calling these as fixed beds. This is the first bed. This one is the second bed. And here we have something called as valves. This diagram which you can see, so this pipe kind of a structure, the T valve which you can see, this will be called as a valve. Now regulating the valve, we can control the direction of flow of the stream. Now here see, consider this tapping. In this tapping, this portion is hollow, and from here one more pipe is going like this, and over here it is solid. There is no passage for the stream to go in this direction. The stream cannot go in this direction. Here also this portion, this is hollow, and this portion, this is hollow. Now this particular fixture, this is fixed, and we are not going to rotate it. We are going to rotate the T kind of valve which is placed inside it. Is the diagram clear to everyone what we are doing right now?
Sir, no, sir. Can you explain again, sir?
Can you repeat again? Yes, sir. Can you repeat
Okay.
again?
Okay. Here we have a valve. Here we have a tapping system. Now see what is the structure of the tapping system. We have got one sphere like this. The sphere is something like this. We have a shape like this. In this direction, one pipe is coming. In this direction, one pipe is coming. And in this direction, one pipe is coming. Is this part clear? The arrangement is clear? Any doubt in this part?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, now suppose that some fluid is coming in this direction. It has option to go straight, or it has option to go down, or it can go in both the directions. So to control the direction of this flow, we are using this valve over here. Consider that this is the position of the valve. If this is the position of the valve, now the stream will be entering like this. It will have two options. First option is to go straight, and the second option is to go in upward direction. But in the upward direction, it has no passage. So it is going to flow only in one direction, and that direction is straight. Is this part clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Second case, say that we are rotating this particular valve. Here the direction of rotation has been mentioned. Can you see that? We are rotating the valve in this direction. Now the arrangement of the valve, that is going to look something like this. This will be the position of the valve. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the diagram clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
What we have done, we have rotated the valve in this direction. When we are doing that, we are getting that this is the position of the valve. Again, the stream will be entering in this direction. It has two options. It can flow in the upward direction, it can go in the downward direction. But in the upward direction, we don't have any passage. So it is going to flow only in the downward direction. Is this part clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was the construction of the valve and all. This was the construction of the tapping system. Now we will see how the system is operating. So for the first case, what we are doing, this is the arrangement of the valves. So for this valve, we are providing hot stream in this direction. It will be going in this direction because of the position of the valve, and it is going to flow through the first bed. When it will be flowing through the first bed, the temperature of this bed is going to rise up. The temperature of this bed is going to rise up. It is going to flow in this direction, and over here it will flow in forward direction like this. So this is the flow of hot stream. The cold stream won't be made to flow in that direction only. We will wait for some time to see the flow of cold stream. Again, suppose that the temperature of this hot stream is TH. As it will be flowing, the temperature of this particular matrix, the temperature of this particular bed is going to rise up. Say that it is approaching the TH value. So if it is approaching the TH value, there won't be any more heat transfer between the fluid and the matrix. So there is no point of passing the hot stream over this particular matrix anymore. So what we are going to do, we are going to change the direction of the stream now. Are you getting this part?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So to change the direction of the stream, what we are going to do, we are going to rotate this valve in this direction. When we will rotate the valve, what is going to happen? The stream is going to take this path now, the path which has been shown with the dashed line, and it is going to enter the second bed. It is going to enter the second matrix. As it will be flowing over it, again the same thing is going to take place. The temperature of this one is going to rise up, and it will go straight. Now this will be done alternately. First the stream will be flowing over the first bed, then the stream will be flowing over the second bed, again the first bed, then the second bed. Now we will talk about the flow of the cold stream. So for the cold stream, suppose that when the hot stream is flowing over the first bed, during that time or before that, the stream had flowed over the second bed, and the temperature of this particular matrix is already high. So what is going to happen? The cold stream is going to flow over this bed now, because this is already at a high temperature. Right now the hot stream is flowing over this bed. That time the cold stream will be flowing over the second bed, and the temperature of that second bed is already high. So what the cold stream is going to do, it is going to take heat from the matrix. So temperature of the stream is going to rise up, and temperature of the matrix is going to drop down, and it is going to flow like this. Now for the second cycle, what is going to happen? Since the cold stream has taken heat from this particular matrix, this matrix will have a lower temperature now. So again what we can do, we can let the hot stream pass through it, and again the temperature of this one will elevate. while the hot stream will be passing through the second bed, what we can do, we can rotate this valve in this direction. Now see, we are rotating the valve in this direction. The arrangement will be something like this. This will be the position of the valve now. The stream has two options. Either it can move in downward direction or in upward direction. Downward direction, we don't have any passage, so it will move in the upward direction only, and it will flow through the first bed now. This bed would already be at a higher temperature TH. So again, the stream is going to take heat from this one. Its temperature is going to rise up, and the temperature for the bed, that is going to drop down, and it will flow in this direction. Is the functioning of this particular regenerator clear to everyone? Should I repeat?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, now you are telling is the mattress is cooling that water, and the mattress is getting heated. So to
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
down that, you are circulating cold water, sir.
The aim is not to cool down the matrix. The aim is to heat up the cold stream.
Okay, okay, sir.
See,
Okay.
what we are doing, we are flowing this hot stream over the matrix, so its temperature is going
Okay,
to
sir.
rise up. Its temperature is TH. Now our aim
sir.
is not to cool down the matrix. Our aim is to heat up the cold stream. That is our aim.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so we will flow. We
Yes.
will let the cold stream flow through this. Since the temperature
Yes.
for the cold stream, that is TC, it is lower than the matrix temperature. It is going to gain some heat. So we
Yes.
are reaching our objective.
Okay.
We are increasing the temperature of the cold water, and while this is happening, the temperature of the matrix is also going to drop down. But this was not our aim. Our aim was this, to heat up the cold water.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I clear, or is
Thank you,
it very confusing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Confusing?
Now it is clear. Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. It's clear now.
Anyone else? Any other doubt? Should we proceed? Yes, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, this is a type of regenerator. So again, regenerator was something over which some fluid was flowing. So in the first cycle, it was taking heat from the hot fluid. In the second cycle, it was giving heat to the cold state. So here what we have something called as rotary regenerator. Now in the previous case, what was happening? In the previous case, we were controlling, we were changing the direction of this flow of a stream. First, the stream was flowing over this bed. Then the stream was flowing over this bed. The cold stream was flowing over this bed. Then it was flowing over this bed. In the second case, we are not going to change the direction of the stream. The stream direction is going to remain the same. So say that hot stream is passing in this direction and cold stream is flowing in this direction. We can also do like this, that hot stream is flowing in this direction and the cold stream is also flowing in the same direction. But the thing is, hot stream will be flowing on one side, hot stream is flowing on this side, on this particular side, and the cold stream is flowing on the other side. So the condition is there is no direct mixing of these two fluids. The fluids are flowing over this particular surface. Again, this surface is the matrix for us, and this surface is held on a shaft. It is cylindrical in shape and it is held on a shaft. You can see that this is the sectional view of the matrix. It is held on this particular shaft and the shaft will be rotating continuously. Now, as the shaft is rotating, see what is going to happen. This portion is initially in contact of the hot fluid. So this will become warm. The temperature of this particular portion will be high. The bottom portion is in contact with the cold fluid. So the temperature for this one will be low. Now, as the shaft will be rotating, the positions of the matrix are going to change. This cold portion will be in contact with the hot stream now. This portion is going to come here and this portion is going to come down. So this cold portion will be in contact with the hot stream. It will get heated up again. The hot portion is going to come down and it will be used to heat up the cold stream. Is this part clear? How we are doing, how we are exchanging heat in this particular case?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here we have one industrial diagram of the same. So this is the device which we will be using. Now it is not going to look exactly like this. It will have some casing and all. So say that this is the casing. We will have casing on this side. We will have casing on this side. Here we have some vents and all. Here also we will have some vents. Here some arrangement will be there, or some filters and all will be there to avoid mixing of these two gases. So the arrangement is something like this. Now here you can see that we have some structure. These can be considered as some guiding paths for the air or the gas to flow. These are the guiding paths for the fluids to flow. So the fluids are going to take this path only. They are not going to come in this direction, or this fluid is not going to come in this direction. So these will also be used to avoid mixing of the two gases. Now as the gas flows over here, consider that temperature for this gas is high. This has a temperature TH. Temperature for air is low. This has a temperature TA. So as the gas will be flowing over the surface, the temperature of the surface will be higher, and the temperature of this particular surface will be lower. And this particular matrix will be rotating in a particular direction. So as rotation will be taking place, this hot surface will now be coming in contact with the air, and this cold surface will be coming in contact with the gas which was flowing over there. So again the gas will be used to elevate the temperature of the surface, which is cool now, and the air will be taking heat from this hot surface. Anyone any doubt now, or is this functioning clear? Guys, any doubt? Am I audible?
No, sir, no
Yes, sir.
doubt.
Yes, sir. No, sir. No, no doubts.
Okay, someone wanted me to repeat?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, just a minute. Here what we have a gas. Say the gas is at a higher temperature TH. It is flowing over this particular portion. It is one single cylinder. We have this structure. So initially the gas is flowing in this direction. The circle symbol means it is going from your direction into the screen. The cross symbol means it is coming from the screen to you. So say here we have a fluid which is flowing in that direction. It has a hot temperature now. This has a temperature TH. This particular fluid has a temperature TC. So what is going to happen? The temperature, mute the call. So what is going to happen? The temperature of this particular side will be high. I will use proper colors. Wait a minute. The temperature of this particular side will be high because hot fluid is flowing over that particular surface, and the temperature for the other side that will be low. That will be equal to TC. Now what we are going to do, we are going to rotate this particular structure. Once we will be rotating that, the hot and the cold surfaces are going to change their directions. Initially, you can see that the hot surface is on the top. Later, what is going to happen? The hot surface will be coming to the bottom, but the fluid flow that remains the same. Here still the cold fluid is flowing. The fluid temperature is TC, and here still the hot fluid will be flowing. Now here, right now the hot fluid is in contact with this particular surface. So the temperature of this surface will be elevated up. This cold fluid is in contact with this particular hot surface now. So temperature for the cold fluid will be rising up, but temperature for the surface will be dropping down. So again, what is going to happen? The surface which is in contact with the hot fluid will have higher temperature again, and the bottom surface will again cool down. Once this happens, again we are going to rotate it, and the same process is going to take place again and again. Is it clear now, or is it more confusing?
Sir, there'll be ununiform distribution, right?
Sorry? Yeah, there will be ununiform
The
distribution.
distribution will not be uniform.
Distribution is not going to be uniform, but it is going to run continuously in a cycle. So it is not going to affect that much. Just for explanation, I am using this particular notation that this entire surface is hot, this entire surface is cold. Actually, this will be
Okay,
taking
sir.
place continuously. If I will find
Okay,
some
thank you.
animation for this, I will show that in the next class. Who had doubt in this one? Is that clarified now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move to the next type. So this particular category was called as regenerator, where the hot fluid is giving heat to one matrix and the cold fluid is taking heat from the matrix. The next category of indirect contact heat exchangers, that is called as recuperator. Now in recuperator, what is happening? Heat exchange between fluids separated by a barrier takes place. This barrier will be pipe or tube. Now in this case, the heat is not stored by any matrix. Heat is directly, see, we have two different fluids. First fluid is flowing through this particular pipe. The second one is flowing through this particular pipe. So heat exchange will take place from the hot fluid to the cold fluid. Heat exchange will take place in this direction. Now this heat is not being stored anywhere. It is not stored in this pipe. It is not stored in this pipe. It is traveling continuously. So such a type of heat exchanger will be called as recuperator. In recuperator, we have two different fluids. The fluids are not mixed. They don't have any direct contact with each other. They are flowing in different pipes, or we can say that these are separated by a barrier, and heat exchange between the fluids take place directly. So such a type of heat exchanger will be called as recuperator. Now, one of the major disadvantages of this regenerator was here mixing of fluids might take place. Here in this case, mixing of fluids might take place. Though we are introducing these guiding vanes and all, these will be governing the flow of gas in this particular direction. Air will be flowing in this particular direction. But some gas might be leaking like this. Some air might be leaking like this. And there will be some mixing of these two fluids. There might be some leakage in the heat exchanger. That is the major disadvantage of such a type of regenerator. Again, in case of fixed bed or valve type regenerator also, there might be some leakage through the valves. So leakage is the major problem over there. In recuperator, we don't have that problem, but here problem of fouling might be there. And again, when we are talking about recuperator and all, these are more economical and these are more commonly used. If I will be asking you example of any heat exchanger, whatever example you are going to give me, 99% of the cases, the example will be a recuperator. Now, again, there is one more basis for classification of heat exchangers. Sorry. There is one more basis for classification of heat exchangers, that is on the basis of direction of fluid motion. So if the fluid is moving in the same direction, it will be called as parallel flow heat exchanger. So first fluid is moving in this direction. Second fluid is also moving in the same direction. This will be called as parallel flow. First fluid flowing in this direction. Second fluid flowing in this direction. This will be called as counter flow. First fluid moving in this direction. The second fluid will move in a perpendicular direction. This will be called as cross flow heat exchanger. So depending on the relative direction of fluid motion, these are the classifications of the heat exchangers. Now, when we will be analyzing heat exchangers in the forthcoming topics, we are going to discuss parallel flow heat exchanger and counter flow heat exchanger. These are the two types of heat exchangers which we will be studying throughout the module. Now, here again we have one animation. Just a minute. We have one animation. So here you can see that hot water is entering in this direction and cold fluid is flowing in the other direction. And this is the arrangement. We have got two different tubes. The tubes are concentric. We have one tube of a smaller diameter and we have one tube of the larger diameter. So the tube of a smaller diameter is placed inside the tube of larger diameter and both the tubes are concentric. Is the arrangement clear to everyone? Yes, no?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, we will watch the animation and then again we will see if the arrangement is
Can you
clear or
repeat?
okay, just a minute. I will repeat. We have got two different tubes. The first tube has a larger diameter. So this is the first tube. And we are placing the smaller tube inside it. So this is the first tube. Inside this, we will be placing one more tube. So this is the smaller tube which we are going to place inside the larger tube. So we have two tubes which are concentric. One fluid will be flowing in the inside tube and one fluid will be flowing in this annular region. Is the arrangement clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So here you can see that one fluid is flowing through the inside pipe. One fluid is flowing through the inside pipe. It is blue in color. Here also you can see that this entire portion is blue in color. It means that it is the cold fluid. And this orange one, this is the hot fluid. The hot fluid right now is flowing in the annular region. And this cold fluid is flowing through the inside pipe. Now here you can see that this cold fluid is flowing in this direction from left to right. The hot fluid will also be flowing in the same direction from left to right. So here both the fluids are flowing in the same direction. Hence this will be called as parallel flow heat exchanger. Is that part clear?
Yes,
no?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now the cold fluid, sorry. Here you can see that the cold fluid which was entering over there is coming out from the heat exchanger as a hot fluid because it has gained some temperature from the hot fluid. The hot water which was coming from here will be, mute the calls, please mute the calls. The cold fluid is gaining heat from the hot water, so it is coming out as a hot fluid. The hot fluid will be losing some heat and it is coming out of here as cold water. Is this part clear? Okay, we will discuss this diagram. From here it might be clear. See, here both the fluids are entering. The red curve is for the hot fluid. Initially, the temperature for hot fluid that is greater than temperature of the cold fluid. Both are in contact with each other. So what is going to happen? The temperature of the hot fluid is going to drop down continuously. The temperature of this hot fluid will be dropping down continuously because it will be giving heat to the cold fluid. So its temperature is going to drop down. The cold fluid will be gaining heat from the hot fluid. So its temperature is going to rise up. So this curve shows the same thing. As we are going across the length of the heat exchanger, what is happening? Temperature of the hot fluid is dropping down and temperature for the cold fluid that is going to rise up. This diagram is drawn across the length of the heat exchanger. So on this axis we have got temperature and on this axis we have the length of the heat exchanger. This is the position x is equal to 0. This is the position x is equal to length of the heat exchanger. Is this part clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here that's why we are writing that cold fluid is entering in. Here the fluid entering was cold, but once it is coming out, its temperature has been elevated. So that's why we are calling it as a hot fluid over here. Here the fluid which was entering, that was hot. Its temperature was hot, but across the length what is happening? Its temperature is going to drop down and hence we are calling it as cold fluid now. Is this part clear?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This was parallel flow heat exchanger. For the second category, we have counter flow heat exchanger. So in counter flow, you can see
Enough
that.
for today, sir.
I'll just explain this, then I will end. For counter,
Sir, we have a class at 11.
yeah, I know. Just 2 minutes and then I will end the class. In counterflow heat exchanger, the cold fluid is entering in this direction and the hot fluid is entering from this direction. So flow direction for the cold fluid, that is from left to right, and for the hot fluid it is from right to left. Both are moving in opposite directions. So this will be called as counterflow heat exchanger. One more thing over here, just a minute. One more thing over here, mute the call. Here the cold fluid was entering from the left. Here the cold fluid is entering from this direction. Cold fluid is entering from the left. So its temperature is lower in this direction. As it will be traveling to the right direction, what is going to happen? The temperature of the cold fluid is going to rise up continuously. But when you will talk about the hot water in this particular case is entering from the left direction. So on the left side, the temperature of the hot water is high. And as it will be traveling to the right, as it will be traveling to the left, what is going to happen? The temperature is going to drop down continuously. So this is the direction of flow for the two fluids. And this will be the temperature profile which we are going to get in this case. In the previous case, the temperature profile was a bit different. The temperature profile was something like this. Hot water temperature was dropping in this direction. Cold water temperature was rising in this direction. In this case, the flow is taking place in opposite directions. So cold water temperature will be rising in this direction and hot water temperature will be dropping in the opposite direction. Is this part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This will be all for today.